Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Davis. I'm a graduate of Code Fellows in C# ASP.NET, as well as JavaScript and React Express with Node. I just kind of wanted to touch base on LinkedIn and how powerful it can be. So I just kind of wanted to cover everything I've done in previous videos on one video, and maybe some extra things that maybe I didn't touch on before. So the first thing I'm trying to touch on is going to be your profile. You want a picture, just kind of like I have here. Something professional, something that looks like there. You don't want to be showing images of drinking, smoking, or anything like that. You want to kind of try to show up in at least a informal kind of meeting kind of setup. For a cover letter, not cover letter, sorry, the cover image, you may want to pick whatever kind of represents you. You could have a picture of something software development related, or your city, or whatever it is. Maybe you served in the Marine Corps and you maybe want the Marine Corps flag up there. The next is make sure your name here matches what is on your resume, as well as maybe your other social websites here. Under here, your contact info, you want to make sure you have a personalized URL. If you don't know how to do that, you can edit public URL up here in the top right. And this should allow you to modify it right here if it hasn't already been taken. And another thing is make sure, as a software developer, we want to make sure we have our profile, our portfolio up and running to showcase our projects and everything else. Mine isn't fully complete yet, but it's in existence. Another one is your HackerRank profile. You may want to have that visible, depends on how active you are on there. You may want to showcase, how far you've gotten in problem solving, days of JavaScript, or interview prep, or whatever you plan on doing there. You'll want to list to your GitHub page. So this way they can see the projects you have. On here, you'll want to create a profile README, which to do that, you just create a repo with your exact same name, and this will appear. And you can actually show the stats by doing this here, my GitHub stats. And then, China, this is kind of your elevator pitch and some technologies. And then this allows you to control what repos that individuals see when they come here. Here they'll see my second half of my ASP.NET course, my midterm for my ASP.NET, my another API I have here, my final I did with Xamarin, as well as all my data structures code challenges and implementations of my data structures. Make sure you have your phone number up on here. I don't think the address is too important as long as they know that you're in the local city, or if you're applying for remote positions, that doesn't matter either way, as well as your email, so they have a way to contact you. You want to make sure you have your title here. If you're a veteran, make sure you mention that. If you're currently a student, make sure you mention that you're a student. Make sure, depends on what you're going for. If you're going for front end, design, UI, UX, back end, whatever type of engineer you're trying to be. And then, for example, if you're a full stack, which I believe most courses here at Code Fellows teach you full stack, you'll want to mention your back end and your front end languages. For example, I list all my back end languages first, and then I mention my front end languages and frameworks. To edit that, you just make sure you're doing here under headline. And to add those other links, you just go down here to contact info and edit, and then you can go down here and say, you should be able to add another website down here. Yeah. So now you have this, just do the URL. This is for other, and you just type in the name and then type same thing here. And then portfolio, you just have to type in the website URL here. We'll just start that. Make sure you are writing that you are open to work. This should say that I'm open to work. Yep, right here. So here you can actually edit this and you can go in and pick your position. So software engineer, junior software engineer, .NET developer, full stack engineer, JavaScript developer. Those are kind of the things that you want to go for. You can keep adding one more title. You can have up to 6. You can set your base pay that you want to accept, whether it's a year or hourly. You can set, benefits that you can that you want. I personally don't need any of these. I'm covered by vision and medical by the VA. How far away they are, schedules, and then whether you want full-time, part-time, contract, internship. But used to have, yeah, okay. Used to actually have you pick what city or country that you would want to be in. So they've updated that a bit since I've done this. I personally, when I do this, I only show this visible to the recruiters. Otherwise, they force that banner on your profile picture. Not everyone needs to know that you're looking for a job, right? Just, particularly people that are hiring. So if they're a recruiter, a hiring manager, a PM, or something like that, they should be able to show that, see that you are wanting a job. This is, again, on your LinkedIn. This is your elevator pitch. This is what, not only are you a software developer, but where are you coming from? Where are you now, and where are you going? You want to use this space to kind of tell your story, and then kind of tell them also what you're looking for. So, for example, I'm looking for a position as a full stack software engineer, back-end software engineer, front end, to hone my craft and will continue to let me grow and challenge me. All this means is that I'm open to almost any position as long as I get to grow and learn and become a better software engineer. And then I list my frameworks, my languages, and my tools. For featured, there's a lot of different things that you could do with this. I personally use this to showcase a post I've done, something maybe I really want to show off or proud of, or maybe something I want to get a little bit more views from. So, I'm almost at 4,000 for this. We'll keep that up for talk about that later. You also want to showcase your certificates. So I have a certificate in JavaScript as well as ASP.NET. But if we go through here, you can see my resume. You can actually see all my awards from the Marine Corps as well as their descriptions. Your dashboard is kind of your go place. If you want to make sure you are an all-star on here, so you want to make sure you are showcasing that. If you're not an all-star, it should have a bar up here that tells you what you need to do, which is usually just fill out your profile information in different sections, as well as meet I believe it's a 300 or 500 minimum connections required. You can go check out your views. To be honest, I don't find views to be the biggest thing in the world. Just mostly you want to get seen, but just adding people and seeing those requests would get you seen, and those aren't necessarily who you want to see you, right? This is not right. This was up to about 200. I'm not sure. Sometimes LinkedIn, their algorithm changes the views in a certain week out of nowhere. I'm not sure why that is, but roughly this is around the time I posted. 2 posts in a week, and then that's it. And then I dropped off to trying to see what that did for me, and I jumped up to 104 views, down to, you know, steadily dropping from there. Now let's go back. You showcase your post views. You can look at your search appearances. This is what I mostly try to focus on. Trying to make sure I show up for the right keywords and I show up as much as possible. 110 isn't that good. It's probably the lower end of what I normally get. But 14% of the people who view my profile or who are finding me are recruiters, you know, HR, you know, founders. Those are pretty big deals. So looks like most of the people are what I want them to be. These aren't necessarily the words I want to show up for. Mobile engineer is not bad, but you know, I'm a teacher assistant right now at Code Fellows. I don't necessarily want to show up as teacher though. So I probably need to alter my post, which will affect this at all, to show you kind of the peak time. I probably had over 200 something views in this particular week. And you know, as you can see, I showed for developer, web application developer, software engineer. You gotta make sure that you are typing in and make sure your profile mentions these same keywords over and over and over as much as possible, just to show you, you know, kind of what you want it to look like. And if it's not looking properly, go back and edit your profile and include those keywords. Make sure you're doing it in your comments, making sure you do it in your post that you make. And we'll get to posts afterwards. Here, you want to talk about your experience. You want to make sure you're doing good keywords and things that recruiters will like. You know, like as a teacher assistant, I am empowered aspiring computer programming students through code reviews, constructive feedback, and mentoring. I could probably change this to software engineering just to hit the extra keyword. Here I was a student. You can list yourself as a student software engineer if you're at Code Fellows or maybe a bachelor's degree or whatever you're doing. And you can kind of talk about what you did there. This also, if we open this up, we scroll down, we can see that I list each one of these as well as my certificates. If you go to edit the certificate, you can see that this is also full of keywords as well, which I pull directly from Code Fellows website. So if we pull up Code Fellows and we go to their website, give it just a moment, and we can pull up their courses here under curriculum. And then, you know, it depends on what you're doing. You can do learn more in their full stack JavaScript. That's what you're taking, or ASP.NET. And you can kind of see what you should include here. This is maybe some good bullet points that you can add. And here's all the potential keywords. You probably don't need this, to be honest. No recruiter is searching to make sure you know data structure. That's what the whiteboard's for. Language is important. Environment and tools is also important. Those are the two things you want to focus on. And concepts, you may want to pull some stuff out there, such as async design patterns, structural design patterns, RESTful API, NoSQL databases, TDD, BDD. You know, you want to make sure you're going through all this object-oriented programming, some really good stuff. And copy that and put that in there, as well as when you actually come in here, you can copy a lot of that stuff in here as well. So you want to make sure you do that, and then you want to modify your work experience. I honestly haven't done this myself, but you'll want to come in here and try to talk about things that transfer over from that work experience. Think of this as your resume, right? That you're applying for a software engineer role. You're going to want to take this and apply it to that job. So what skills as a warehouse lead or a warehouse manager, or maybe you were in HR, maybe you did music or whatever you did before, list the skills that transfer over. Doesn't matter if it's attention to detail, maybe you had some experience with SQL before, maybe doing some access databases, whatever you can do there. And then as you go through education, you kind of want to do the same thing and list all these out. And don't just list code fellows once. You know, each course is separated for a reason. So you have your 101, your 102, your 201, your 301, and your 401, or in this case, maybe multiple 401s, right? And this applies to whether you're doing coding or you're doing their cybersecurity part. And then after each one, I have 2 401s listed. Same thing. If you click on this, you can see that I, listed all the stuff you can in here, right? Same thing with this. You want to make sure you do this. Obviously, there's no certificates for the 301s and below, but this still talks about that stuff. And list every last one of these, as many keywords as you can possibly get in there. Once you're done with that, you can come down to your actual education, license and certificates list. Once you finish your 401, list it here. You can't get any more keywords here, but you will get the title itself at least. Give me 1 second. Little hiccup going on here. So once you list these, you can go ahead and list these. You don't need that credential ID. Obviously, Totos does not have that, and just provide a link to, the different URLs on Totos' website. If you are a veteran or you pay for the LinkedIn premium, you have access to learning, and those will automatically show up as well. Volunteer experience is huge. I don't actually have all mine listed, but if you actually have these, a lot of volunteer experience, that should also separate you from the pack. So maybe mention that here, or maybe you volunteer for a nonprofit or anything like that. Maybe like I particularly volunteer and help some veterans build their baseline like websites out. Here's a huge portion. You want to make sure you do skills and endorsements. Make sure, at least as a Code Fellow grad, make sure you go in and you actually endorse all your colleagues, all your cohort, maybe your instructors, your TAs, endorse all their stuff and get them to endorse you. That is a huge deal. My cohort did not particularly do this for either of my 401s, to be honest. But make sure you go through. This isn't just about your software skills. You want to talk about your collaboration, your teamwork, your leadership. If you're a veteran or not, that makes a big difference. But you want to talk about soft skills, but you also want to talk about all of the major skills, because this is what you're going to pop up for ultimately, right? Do you know Node? Do you know GitHub? Because most places don't necessarily use GitHub, but they use something similar to GitHub. So you may want to take this and get as many of these endorsed as possible. In particular, a skill quiz. This gives you badges, as you can see on here. If you finish it, those are worth probably around 30 endorsements by themselves. So you can go in here, take some machine learning, recommend Adobe, not for a software engineer, but you can probably take some Android or Angular or anything else that you may know, C++, CSS, Dreamweaver. Oh boy, I can't believe they still have that up here. All these different things that you may want to show it for. You know, I roughly only have about 12 of these, I believe. Yeah. You want to take these, you know, just recognize that you know these. And then, you know, same thing, contact your cohort, add them on LinkedIn, get them to write you a recommendation. It's very important that you get recommendations on here. These also account for keywords. So if they could use, you know, whatever particular language you have in here, go ahead and do that. But I also have people I served in the Marine Corps with, and as well as my cohort, my TAs, instructors, all these individuals also wrote me up. Honors and awards, you know, I have all my awards from the Marine Corps listed on here. All the different courses I took here at Code Fellows on here. I probably should go back and probably add some stuff in from my college days. Here, you can probably list some projects, probably the key projects that you want people to see. I probably should remove this, but you know, make sure you do your midterms on there. Maybe, like for example, this is our e-commerce platform that we made. A really big deal. Took half of, you know, .NET to do that. So midterms, finals, make sure you add those in here. Some other things to talk about is posting. You want to post as much as possible, but realistically, that's not always possible. You don't always have something to say. You don't always have something to share, or questions to ask, or anything that requires like any form of engagement. So I recommend at least once to twice a week, you want to post. Preferably, you don't want to post on Fridays, and you preferably don't want to post on Mondays. So I would say Tuesdays are a good day, but Thursdays are probably the best day to post because for the most part, most people have already clocked out for the week, or they're browsing trying to find the next person to fill their schedule for the following week for interviews or anything like that, or meetings. So be sure to post on Thursdays. Try to find a good time for the West Coast and the East Coast. You know, I typically post around 11 a.m. That gets everyone who's already clocked out and like just browsing LinkedIn at work. You know, some of them it's part of their job, and this allows that to happen. So here's just me talking about, you know, my resume, for example, showing that I'm available for work, what skills I know, you know, good new year, and you know, I did a lot of a decent level of reactions, 37 reactions, 13 comments, as well as, you know, almost 4,000 people viewed this. So it's quite a bit. 41 from Microsoft. We're talking about Amazon. We're looking at 36, what, 50, you know, 60 something there. Don't know who that is. 124 recruiters, 407 other software developers, you know, 58 students. I assume most of those are from Code Fellows. 45 from that have founded their own companies. So these are a lot of, you know, good things to have in here. And they also break down like where the person viewed you from. So I'll say I live in Seattle, so most of the people viewing my profile are from Seattle. You know, you never know what this might entail. So if we can go up and look at my activity, and we can check my post here. Make sure you also help out other people. Even though this is a bad time for me to share and probably didn't use as many the proper hashtags as I should have, you know, he still got another 300 views on top of whatever his original post had. You know, volunteer opportunity, you know, I'm just trying to volunteer somewhere, got me around 2,000 views. If we're looking at my resume here, you know, we just talked about that, almost 4,000 views. Just me sharing a video here almost got me, you know, almost 1,000. If we're talking about like my graduation certificate here, I am, you know, I'm looking at, you know, almost 3,500. And the thing with post is you want it to be roughly around 100 words. I would say not to exceed 150, but generally speaking, 100 words is what it needs to be. Just because of LinkedIn's algorithm, if you go past that, you'll probably want to have to go all the way up to about 900 to 1,000 to meet their requirements and what they talked about. Just trying to want to showcase here. What else do we have? Here's another one around almost 3,000 there. Just asking, hey, what courses can I take? Make sure you're doing like good hashtags. There's a lot of people do follow hashtags here on LinkedIn. So make sure you're doing that. Another thing you want to, keep track of is, here's the following hashtags that people follow. Your groups and who you follow on LinkedIn is really important. Like, if you're a veteran, join a lot of veteran group, but you also want to join some software development, groups here. Some of these are really massive. Groups, 250,000, 500,000. Make sure you're not just in here, but you're actually participating to kind of give you an idea. Here's the value of a veteran. So when people jump on here and they want to actually contact members here, you can click on see all. And the way these people are sorted aren't by their name, not by how, when the last time they were online or anything like that. It's based on their actual activity inside this group. So if you want to get seen by the group, you need to participate in the group, not just join it and never do anything with it, because it really doesn't do anything for you. Make sure you're following good stuff like that. If you go to my profile, you'll also want to follow companies and people that you want to be part of. So if you go down here to the bottom, here you can look at companies, Microsoft, Lockheed Martin, LinkedIn. Find companies that you really want to work for, or that are just you're interested in, right? And make sure you follow them. Obviously some of these things are veteran related, but GitHub, Slack, follow these different things, and these really help you out. Important people, maybe there's some actual software developers that are on LinkedIn that you want to follow. Here's some schools, groups, and if you're part of if you want to grow your network on top of that, on top of like finding people in these groups and just adding them, go to Code Fellows. I would recommend going to Code Fellows. That's not the Code Fellows I want. Or actually it is. We go down to alumni. You can do a start year and end year here. Where they live, you can actually filter this type of stuff out. So if you just want people that work at Microsoft, they got 102 people who've graduated from Code Fellows that now work at Microsoft. We have 1,500 just in the greater Seattle area. We got 54 at Amazon, 42 at AWS. All these different companies that you may want to look for. Maybe you want to work for Starbucks. Let's click on Starbucks, see what we get. And we got a few people here that we can sit there and reach out and connect with on LinkedIn that we have connections to because we went to Code Fellows. And as a veteran, you should probably find some veteran group and see where they work for as well, and connect to them if they work at a particular company. But this is generally a good way to do it, right? Maybe you want to work for Microsoft and you want to pull up some people that work there. Maybe you want to find people that are just in the Seattle area, right? So these are all different options that you can do. Yeah, just make sure you're posting, update your profile. If you aren't getting the keywords you want, like I said, make sure you go and modify your post. Talk about in your post the things that you want to be found for. So make sure you talk about being a software engineer. Make sure you're talking about GitHub. Make sure you talk about Node. Maybe you talk about React or whatever these things are. Make sure you're being found for what you want to be found for. And these stats get updated every Thursday. So if the words aren't being found in here, make sure you mention these throughout your profile. Make sure in your post you talk about these things. Very important. And a huge thing is obviously LinkedIn Premium does help quite a bit, as well as being an all-star here. As a veteran, if you need it, you can probably Google how to get your free LinkedIn Premium. But I think that's all I have for you today on here in regards to LinkedIn, how to grow your network, how to get found and get messaged by recruiters, as well as don't just add people to add people. Make sure you reach out to them. Make sure you are congratulating them on their roles, especially in the new year. It's a great time, great growth in a lot of companies and most industries. So make sure you reach out and just talk to them. Obviously, it's a professional website, so make sure you keep it professional, but just try to be personal and try to find something to actually spark that conversation. Just out of sight, out of mind. If you're not talking to them, they're not remembering who you are. They're not thinking of you when they see a job posting or something at their own company. So just keep that in mind. And I think that's all I have for now. All right, take care.